Good morning and welcome to the What's Up News Network, being broadcast from Panama City Beach, Florida, the home of the world's most beautiful beaches. I am Jim Free with Jim Free Realty. Please click on the red subscribe button just below the picture. In the local news, will it never end? Lynn Haven, Florida, WMBB is reporting that a man facing felony charges for fraudulently approving building inspections in Lynn Haven after Hurricane Michael received strong support from two individuals who are now themselves facing felony charges. Michael Gordon, age 59, of Lynn Haven, is charged with public order crimes and fraud. Investigators said Gordon ordered employees to inspect buildings even though they were not qualified to perform the inspections. According to an employee, Gordon was doing this both in Lynn Haven and in Bay County when he worked as building inspector for the Bay County Building Department. After quitting his job at the county, Gordon was hired as a building inspector for Panama City Beach. He was not a direct employee of the city, but was hired as a third-party contractor. Lynn Haven Chief Ricky Ramey said last week that Gordon's actions will mean that homes and buildings across the city will need to be re-inspected. He added that he was concerned about the safety of those living and working in those structures. Video of the Lynn Haven City Commission meeting from May 2019 shows that Gordon enjoyed strong support from then Mayor Margot Anderson and James Finch, the owner of Phoenix Construction. Anderson and Finch now both face federal charges for corruption and bribery. In the state news, the Northwest Florida Sun Guide Center, which is in Chipley, Georgia, covers about 300 miles of I-10, running from Pensacola to just east of Tallahassee. This is a 24-hour-a-day operation. We basically provide real-time traffic monitoring of all freeway throughout the district. So from Pensacola at the state line all the way to Madison County line on the other side of Tallahassee. Operations Manager David Rourke said that during their shift, each person is responsible for monitoring 60 to 80 miles of highway during peak times. The Florida Department of Transportation is able to check parts of I-10 and some arterial highways like US 231, according to Rourke. We have approximately 300 cameras, 50 overhead message boards that provide the data or information to the traveling motorists to give them a heads up for any congestion or other things that they may encounter. However, the Florida Department of Transportation doesn't solely rely on technology at the Northwest Florida Sun Guide Center when it comes to keeping the roads safe. And of course, Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 p.m., they're communicating with road rangers, Rourke said. Rourke said that they have a direct connection with the Florida Highway Patrol, which helps them learn of traffic incidents quickly. Now to the national news. Hackers have been busy. They have cut off a pipeline to the eastern seaboard for days, tried to poison Florida water treatment plant, held hospital IT system hostage, and stole undetermined trove of information in the SolarWinds hack, as the Biden administration searches for a way to respond. Cyber attacks are on the rise, and they're increasingly targeting major infrastructure installations like transportation hubs, energy facilities, and utility companies. The technology to prevent many of these attacks already exists, experts say, and hacks targeting critical infrastructure, which can threaten American lives, are akin to acts of war. Here's some food for thought. If you have to show your ID to board an airplane, cash a check, buy alcohol, or check out a library book, but not have to show ID to vote for the folks that run our country, you might live in a country founded by geniuses but run by idiots. If you get arrested for hunting and fishing without a license, but not for being in the country illegally, you might be in a country founded by geniuses and run by idiots. If you have to get your parents' permission to go on a field trip or take an aspirin in school, but do not need permission to get an abortion, you might live in a country founded by geniuses but run by idiots. If hard work and success are met with higher taxes and more government intrusion, while not working is rewarded with EBT cards, WIC checks, Medicare subsidized housing, and a free cell phone, you might live in a country founded by geniuses but run by idiots. Our president and Congress keep spending and raising the debt ceiling. I'm going to try to explain it to them so they will understand. If the sewer line down the street from where you live were stopped up, and when you got home you found that your home was full of waste all the way to the ceiling, would you have the waste removed, or would you raise the ceiling? Maybe if they think about it like this, they'll quit spending other people's money as they are now, which is going to force us into an inflation period and stall the economy. I don't even like to mention IRS. I usually have to ask for an extension on my tax returns, but this year I decided to file early. But the IRS sent my return back, questioning my list of dependents. I had listed 20 million illegal immigrants, 3 million crackheads, 2 million people in prison, half of Mexico, 535 persons in the U.S. House, Senate, and 1 president. Evidently, that was not acceptable. I keep wondering, who did I miss? Well, let's talk about some of my friends. 3 of my Georgia friends, George, Ed, and Fred, had known each other since high school, and they were eager to get to spend some time together after graduating from college. They had planned a fishing trip to Lake La Jolla in the mountains of Honduras. When they finally arrived at their cabin, they were tired and went to bed early. They were awakened during the night by the local police kicking the door in. They were told they were being charged with murder. An eyewitness had told the police that 3 Americans had beaten an old man to death. The chief told the men that they would be executed the next day at noon. They begged and pleaded with their jailer and even offered him a substantial bribe if he'd just let them go. But he just stood firm and the jail door stayed shut. The jailer told the men that the chief had purchased a used electric chair at a government auction in Tegucigalpa. He has had his brother-in-law wire the chair and he is ready to try it out. The hour came and they all had their last meal and were herded into the room where the electric chair sat. Ed was strapped in the chair and was asked if he had any last words. Ed said, "I am a theologian from Emory University, and I believe in the power of God to intervene on my behalf of the innocent." The executioner threw the switch and nothing happened. He thought, God must be on this man's side, and he let Ed go. George was strapped in next. He was asked for his last words. He responded, "I am a lawyer, and I graduated from the University of Georgia Law School. I believe in the power of justice system to intervene on the behalf of the innocent." The switch was thrown and again nothing happened. The executioner figured justice must be on this man's side, so he let George go. Finally, Fred was strapped in the chair and asked for his last words. "Well, I'm an electric engineer. I graduated from Georgia Tech, and nothing is going to happen if you don't connect those 2 wires right there." Well, there you go. You just have to love those Georgia Tech boys. What is going to happen to our economy? The truth is we don't know for sure. We know that our government is spending money like crazy. They just keep printing money to cover their giveaway programs to buy votes. So it's really about power and money. I noticed that Warren Buffett didn't have a problem when the president shut down the pipeline because he could continue to ship the oil on his railroad. But now he is concerned about inflation because of the cost to his companies is going up. I guess you do reap what you sow, don't you, Warren? I stopped by McDonald's this morning and ordered 2 hash browns and a small Coke for $4.99. The girl said, "Sir, can you afford a biggie fry with that order?" So I think we're going to see more of that. Things are really going up. Everything is going up. And are we at a tipping point? We get mixed answers. Some economists think the real estate market will remain strong because of the housing shortage. Building materials are going up at an average of $36,000 per new home. At some point, the Fed will have to put the brakes on and cool the economy down. If not, we will be in a Jimmy Carter inflation period. If you're too young to have been alive during the 1970s, you might want to read up on that decade because current economic conditions are starting to become eerily similar to what we experienced back then. In 1970, an energy crisis caused tremendously long lines at gas stations all over the country. In 2021, we don't have a shortage of gasoline except when hackers disrupt the colonial pipelines, but shortages of other key products are starting to cause very serious problems. In fact, as you will see below, even the Biden administration is publicly admitting that there will be supply chain disruption in the months ahead. The 1970s also featured extremely painful inflation, and I certainly don't need to tell you that prices have been rising very aggressively lately. In fact, Bloomberg is using the term skyrocketing to describe the upward trajectory of commodity prices. The prices of raw material used to make almost everything are skyrocketing, and the upward trajectory looks like set to continue as the world economy roars back to life. From steel and copper to corn and lumber, commodities started 2021 with a bang, surging to levels not seen for years. The rally threatens to raise the cost of goods from the lunchtime sandwich to a gleaming skyscraper. It's also lit the fuse on the massive reflation trade that's gripping markets this year and pushing up inflation expectations with the economy pumped up on fiscal stimulus. And Europe's economy starting to reopen as vaccinations roll out, gets into gear. There's little reason to expect a change in direction. Over the past year, the Federal Reserve have pumped more money into the financial system than ever before. And if the U.S. government has been on a wild spending spree that makes Zimbabwe look financially conservative, it was inevitable that this was going to cause rampant inflation. But the numbers that we are starting to see are so crazy, they are difficult to believe. A couple of weeks ago, Charlie Baello posted a summary on how commodity prices have changed over the past year. Lumber up 265%, crude oil up 210%, gasoline up 182%, Brent crude up 163%, heating oil up 107%, corn up 84%, copper up 83%, soybeans 72%, silver 65%, sugar 59%, cotton 54%, platinum 52%, natural gas 43%, palladium 32%, wheat 19%, coffee 13%. At this point, nobody can deny what is happening, and even the Biden administration is admitting there will be a supply chain disruption and transitory increase in prices. Council of Economic Advisors Chair Cecilia Ross said on this week's broadcast of Fox News Sunday that they expected to see some transitory inflation as America is coming out of the coronavirus pandemic. Anchor Chris Wallace said, "Can you guarantee with all this spending that we are not going to have a new round of overheating the economy and serious inflation?" Rouse said, "They are very serious concerns, and we know that coming out of an extremely deep recession that there are going to be some bumps along the way. We expect that there is going to be a supply chain disruption that will cause some increases in prices. Biden administration officials would like for us to believe that this inflation period will just be temporary, but exactly how do they plan to achieve that? Do they have a plan to somehow put trillions of dollars out of the system? Or pull trillions of dollars out of the system? No, they are planning to borrow and spend trillions more." In the 1970, double-digit inflation made headlines for years on end. Many people believe that they are well on the way to return to such levels, but according to John Williams of Shutterstock.com, we are already there. In fact, if inflation was calculated the way it was back in 1980, we would already be in double-digit territory. And for certain items, we are already seeing inflation that is off the charts. For example, the price of corn went up more than 30% so far in 2021. For tortillas to cornbread, some of your favorite corn-based dishes may go up in prices late this summer. Corn has been leading the rally among grain commodities, raising more than 30%. In 2021, according to the Market Watch, corn is used in hundreds of different products at the grocery store, and so this is going to dramatically affect the food budget of millions upon millions of American families. Meanwhile, we continued to see more shortages start to emerge. Last week, the mainstream media was freaking out over our new nationwide chicken shortage. A chicken shortage is taking place across the country, much of it fueled by the chicken sandwich craze, as fast food chains such as Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bojangles, which are having a hard time keeping up with soaring demand. Experts say February's massive winter storm in Texas also contributed to the gaps in the supply chain. That shortage is supposed to be temporary, but analysts are warning that the current computer chip shortage could last until 2022. My grandfather was 99 years old when I stopped by to visit with him and my grandmother. He was feeble and could barely see, but he was sitting on the porch just staring at his hands. I sat down in his chair beside him. He didn't move. He just sat there with his head down and continued to stare at his hands. I was wondering if he was okay. Finally, not really wanting to disturb him, but wanting to check on him at the same time, I asked him if he was okay. He raised his head and looked at me and smiled. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking," he said in a clear, strong voice. "Didn't mean to disturb you, Granddaddy, but you were just sitting there staring at your hands, and I wanted to make sure you're okay." He said, "Have you ever looked at your hands? I mean, really looked at your hands?" I slowly opened my hands and stared down at them, turned them over, palms up, and then palms down. "No, I guess I never looked at my hands that way." I was trying to figure out what his point he was making. "Just think about how your hands have served you over the years," he said. "My hands, though wrinkled, shriveled, and weak, have been the tools I have used all my life to reach out and grab and embrace the life. They put food in my mouth and clothes on my back. As a child, my mother taught me to fold my hands in prayer. They have been dirty, scraped, raw, swollen, and bent. They were uneasy and clumsy when I tried to hold your dad and our other babies when they were born. It has been decorated for 76 years with a wedding band that showed the world that I was married and loved someone special. They trembled and shook when I buried my two boys, William and Earl, and when I walked my daughter Martha down the aisle. And to this day, when not much else of anything else works with me, These hands hold me up, lay me down, and continue to fold in prayer. And soon God will reach out and take these hands and lead me home. On July the 29th of that year, God did reach down and take Henry Thomas Free, my grandfather, home to be with him. Until we meet again, may God bless you, your family, and may God bless this great country we live in.